Hey there, true believers. This is Steve from Unleash the Fanboy, and today I got some really big news to share with you. Nobody really hates The Last Jedi. If you're watching this, then I'm sure you're a pretty big Star Wars fan, or at least you enjoy a lightsaber fight or two in your spare time. And if you're part of the majority of internet-dwelling Star Wars fans, you might think that you hate Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. I know this because I'm a huge Star Wars fan who thought he hated The Last Jedi. But when it comes down to it, I could have lived with most of the plot points and characterizations. There was just one thing that really ruined the flick. Luke Skywalker was a letdown. Yeah, I know that's not a big surprise for anybody, and it's definitely not that hyperbolic of a reveal compared to what people usually say on the internet, but it's true. Basically, we're all let down by Luke Skywalker. We've waited 30 years to see Luke manifested as the Jedi, the embodiment of all that is good in the galaxy, and he was a super big letdown. And if you give me a minute, I'd like to tell you 3 key reasons why. Again, nobody really hates The Last Jedi. They were just let down by Luke Skywalker. As I've already said, we waited 30 years for this. We saw the resolution of Luke Skywalker's story, sorta, in the original trilogy. He ignored the temptation of the dark side, fought his father, survived Emperor Palpatine's creepy old man Lightning, and became a full-on Jedi. And even though that was the resolution for that character at that point in time, we wanted to see more. But that was it. The film stopped coming out. Yeah, sure, there were comic books, there were books, there were video games, but those don't really satisfy when you're used to movies, right? As we've all seen, those types of media can be swept underneath the rug and disregarded as non-canonical, which was done with the Legacy series once J.J. Abrams came on board. So really, we have no stories of Luke Skywalker being a badass ultimate Jedi, and that's what we want to see. Where did Luke go? What did he do with all of his new power? Who did he help, and what obstacles did he overcome? And we saw none of that in The Last Jedi, which is, again, one of the big reasons why he was such a big letdown. And another reason he was a big letdown was just all the different decisions they made with this whole new trilogy. As you guys can probably tell, I'm not that great of a film critic. I'm just a geek who likes movies. I've picked up a few of the trite comments that people have said on the internet, and some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. But let me tell you why I think some of these new decisions just made Luke Skywalker a big old disappointment. Through their own admission, they've stated that they sacrificed Leia, Han, and Luke to serve the greater story of Rey and Kylo and all the other new characters. Not only that, but they knew what fans were expecting. They knew what the general public was expecting. And they wanted to subvert those expectations, which basically is, I want to trick you. I'm going to get you. Those all sound like gimmicks. And I think a great story and a great film doesn't really rely on gimmicks. It relies on great stories, great characters who grow naturally, and interesting conflicts. I've been a comic book reader for 12, 15 years now. And there's one thing that I can tell you is a lot of stories get recycled, a lot of characters get recycled, and a lot of characterization gets recycled. As long as you have a great story, there's nothing wrong with a character who has a personality. And a personality that we can expect and depend on. For example, it would make little sense for Gandalf to become an emo hermit after Saruman betrays him, or for Batman to give up being Batman after Robin died, or for Tony Stark to hide in his tower during Thanos' invasion after he fought with Captain America. Those things just don't make sense with those characters, and it doesn't really make sense that Luke Skywalker would give up the way he has in The Last Jedi. Now, there's one thing that a lot of people said that I actually agree with, and it's the one thing that makes this version of Luke Skywalker that we see in The Last Jedi not that big of a letdown, but it's still something I can't completely agree with. They claim that Luke Skywalker did do all of that badass stuff just earlier in the chronology, earlier in the new canon, way before the events of The Force Awakens and before The Last Jedi. But why didn't they show that? Because I definitely have zero interest in seeing Luke Skywalker as a hermit in The Last Jedi. And I think I need to steal from Kevin Smith when I say it just doesn't feel earned. Kevin Smith said something really interesting when comparing Batman v Superman and Captain America in Civil War. One of those movies worked, one of them didn't, and there's a lot of reasons why. But one of the main things that he said about Batman v Superman was the conflict between Batman and Superman didn't feel earned. It didn't feel realistic. It didn't feel like it actually was the result of an underlying tension between the two characters. One of the reasons was we haven't seen many movies with Ben Affleck's Batman or Henry Cavill's Superman. Another reason being that interpretation of those characters hadn't been seen in media. The previous movies in the Superman and Batman franchises were completely different and belonged to a completely different universe. Without the right build-up to gigantic changes in a character, it all just doesn't feel right. I feel the same way about Luke Skywalker becoming an old, grumpy man. It just doesn't feel earned. When all is said and done, those are my reasons why Luke Skywalker is such a big letdown. Anyway, let me know if you agree, disagree. If you'd like, go ahead and say something mean, say something nice in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe if you'd like more of my incoherent, rambling mess. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try and catch you guys next time.